From the After 9 podcast studios, this is After 9 with Scott and Kat.
What's going on, friends? How are you? Man, do I ever have to catch you guys up on some stuff. Thanks for listening. It is me solo today, by the way. Octavia actually might pop in, and if she does, I'm going to make her come on with me and shout, but she's so busy. In a strange twist of events, let me take you back for a second. Oh my gosh. So Scott, I think, first and foremost, Scott's not here, and he's not going to be here for a bit. I don't know, and I didn't want to bug him about it, because I know he's recovering. Did he ask about recovery time? At any point, knowing the surgery was happening? I don't think so. So the doctor has ordered him to stay off of his foot for a lot longer than he thought. But that said, we've talked about it before. They literally like Humpty Dumpty'd the guy, except they are going to attempt to put him back together again. So in order to allow those, I guess, is it bones? I didn't ask questions because it was like making me grossed out. But basically he has to keep completely off his foot for 2 straight weeks. So he's not even going to be in next week. And I think it was much to his own surprise. We will be with you, though, between myself, Octavia, and Dave Blizzard as well, who will check in from time to time when we can. Now I'm going to switch over to Dave Blizzard, who was with me this week, on and off. So he was here, as you guys know, earlier in the week, and then he wasn't here. And then he was actually here yesterday on the show with me, but I couldn't record a podcast, so we couldn't do that. He cracked a rib. So it turns out when he had his injury at Chuck's Roadhouse, I can't not laugh every time I say that he tripped and fell at Chuck's Roadhouse, but he actually did crack a rib, right? That was what officially happened. And he was told he shouldn't be moving around so much. So we definitely don't want him to get hurt any more than what he is. We want Scott to sit still. We want Dave to sit still. And I'm the only one that can move around. So that's why I'm here and hoping that I remain uninjured. All that said, I just wanted to update you guys. Don't get a chance to listen to the actual Scott and Kat show where I did mention all those things. I wanted to keep you up to date. But otherwise, this is going to be a super short pod. There's just a couple of things going on that I'm going to talk to you guys about. And then there may or may not be a pod on Friday, just so you know. But next week, we will have some episodes sporadically for you. And as I mentioned, Dave will be able to return next week. So we're going to have some fun there as well. But there are a couple of things that I want to get to on the podcast. Number one being the voice of a generation. No, but definitely an iconic voice that we all know if we grew up as fans of The Simpsons, has announced her retirement. A well-deserved retirement indeed to Pamela Hayden. Now, maybe to hear that, you have no idea who Pamela Hayden is, but you certainly know her voice when she plays Milhouse.
You got that right. Remember the time you ate my goldfish and you lied to me and said I never had any goldfish? But why'd I have the bowl, Bart? Why did I have the bowl?
And listen, as a fellow voiceover person, right? I mean, I don't do character voices as much as, some people do, but she had the dream gig. And for 35 years of playing, by the way, not just Milhouse, she also voiced Jimbo Jones, for example, and a couple other voices, one of Ned Flanders' kids. And anyway, usually you got multiple voices on there if you were on the show. Doing it for 35 years is still a long time, even though she made a very cushy living. I was looking into how much money she made toward the end of her career here now with The Simpsons. She was making upwards of $350,000 an episode. Not too bad, Milhouse. Not too bad. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken with gigs like that, it's a lot of voicing at once. And then you come in occasionally to do all of those episodes. Like you could crank out like 4, 5, 6 episodes. It depends on your characters. So with her characters, I'm assuming she was in every one because between Jimbo Jones and the other characters I mentioned on top of Milhouse, she was probably in it. Nonetheless, hey, congrats to Pamela Hayden on deciding, you know what, I could continue to make this money. And it's probably at this point, like she could definitely do it with her eyes closed. Good for you. Enjoy it. I don't know what's going to happen next, but apparently the very last episode that she is in playing Milhouse anyway, and Jimbo Jones and all the others I mentioned, is on Sunday. Just a couple more things I want to get to here. And by the by, I do want your thoughts on this. And I want your honest thoughts. Last year, I began to tell you guys about this, but this year it's really kicked into high gear. I'm going to warn you, in case there's anyone listening with younger ears, that I don't think a lot of younger ears listen to this pod, but I'm just going to warn you, anyone with younger ears, we're going to talk about Elf on the Shelf. We're going to talk about the Elf on the Shelf. My kid last year for the first time ever, right around this time last year, started asking me questions about Elf on the Shelf. And I was like, oh, right, yeah, no, it comes to some houses. And she's like, oh, why doesn't it come to ours? I said, well, you have to invite the elf in, right? Isn't that, I don't even know how it works, to be honest with you. I never read a book on it. I didn't Google it because it just seems like a lot more work. And I have so much work on my plate as it is. But I love my kids. I give them things. I let them do all kinds of things, especially around Christmas. We can do all those Christmassy things, but why do I have to do work every night? Every night. I don't want to. So my husband, by the way, definitely doesn't want to. He's not only is he on my side, if anything, I'm being persuaded here. And he's like, don't do it, Kat. Like, honest to God, don't do it. This year it kicked into high gear. My oldest was like, she's 7. And she's like, how come we still don't have Elf on the Shelf? Are we going to have Elf on the Shelf this year? Is the Elf on the Shelf going to come this year? Because she gets a little FOMO. Thanks, parents of kids with Elf on the Shelf, making us all look bad. Because she gets FOMO and she goes to school in December, especially, and then all of her friends are like, yeah, Elf on the Shelf got into the Skittles, or, oh, it poured me my cereal this morning, and I can't, but again, I'm the one that's being a little persuaded, and I just want you to talk me out of it, please. You can DM me anytime at Voice of Cat. I did make a quick mention about Elf on the Shelf today when I was talking about Martha on the Mantle. Martha Stewart, by the way, has joined in because they're very opportunistic, that Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg has Snoop on the soup already. Anyway, she's got Martha on the Mantle. So I mentioned it. And I said, maybe the elf will come to our house this year. I don't know. I got a text from someone right away who was like, you seem like a very busy mom. Don't do it. I warn you, you're going to bust it out. You're going to maybe do it for like the first few days. You're going to forget about it sometimes. And then the kids are just going to ask way too many questions about it. You're going to get frustrated. You're too busy. Trust me. I wish that my future self had told myself at that point, don't do it. She also added that in her house, sometimes the tooth fairy also forgets. Or, things happen. Who always has cash around anymore? I'm similar, by the way. I'm similar. So I did appreciate that. But hey, if you have any thoughts for me, the one suggestion that I don't know if this is going to work. Once a week? But then I think that's kind of also stupid because if I just position the elf once a week, my kids are like goldfish, man. Like they're not going to remember every Saturday morning, for example, to check for the elf. Like they don't even know what day it is. Like their life is just set up for them. You know what I mean? They're 5 and 7. They have everything just completely done for them. It's nuts. I'm trying to think if there's any other headlines for you guys before I head out of here. But I will say 2 movies out this weekend, big ones. And the showtimes always start on the Thursday night. So by all means, some of you guys might be going to see them. I don't care about Wicked. I don't want to see it. I've never really been big on musicals anyway. And that's not to knock anything that, like, this looks amazing. Like, by all means, the cinematography in this movie, I'm sure, is going to blow people away. The voices, fantastic. I'm certain. Ariana, oh, brilliant. Everybody looks and sounds great, I'm sure, in this movie. I don't care. I don't want to see it. Not interested. It's never been for me. But anyway, Wicked is here, and it's supposed to make a lot of money. $110 million, they assume, on opening weekend. Gladiator 2, though, is also out. Some people are coining this kind of like they did the Barbenheimer thing. They're coining this Glicked. I'm not telling you to call it that. But if it ends up as big as they say, maybe it'll catch on. We'll see. Gladiator 2, $65 million. That's not too bad, considering what is that one rated R? I didn't even look up the rating for that one. I'm going to assume there's a lot of gore and guts, so I'm going to assume at least R. Lots of swearing, maybe some nudity. I don't know. But Gladiator 2 certainly does look good. Out of those two, I'd pick Gladiator, but I'm not sure if I'm going to go to the movies. But just so you know, a couple of new ones in theaters, and then next week is going to be big for families, I assume. But anyone who likes Disney, whatever. Moana 2 is going to be here next weekend. I can't believe it's already going to be the end of November next weekend. It's also Black Friday coming up next week, and we are going to talk more about Black Friday next week on the podcast, specifically about a couple of new things I learned as I was early Black Friday shopping. If you have Amazon, you might have noticed this. I just noticed it this week as I was kind of preparing my cart. What I do personally if something doesn't have a Black Friday deal, it's associated with it already, I just favorite it, right? I like it. I add it to my list, if you will, and then I'll check back on Black Friday. If there's a deal, great. If not, maybe I won't even bother buying it, whatever. So as I'm scanning through, I noticed this little thing in the bottom right corner, this little graphic. And I was like, what is this? So I clicked on it, and then I realized, oh, I forgot about that. So Amazon has launched officially in Canada Rufus. I don't know who names them, but anyway, Rufus is their AI. And Dave and I, off of the microphone yesterday, Dave and I were totally disagreeing with each other on Rufus, the AI helper inside Amazon. I actually think it's kind of helpful. He doesn't like it. Octavia also did not like it. But let me give you an example of why I think it's cool. And maybe we'll talk, like I said, I think we're going to talk about lots of Black Friday shopping things next week, so I don't want to overwhelm you with it now. But if you have Amazon, check it out. It's called Rufus. Here's why I like it. Let me give you an example. It is AI generated, of course, so you can ask it anything specific. So I could search for items on there anytime. You could type things out, no problem. You could say, hey, green sweaters. I want a green sweater. How about, though, AI helping you with specifically Canadian-made ones? What if you want a sweater tonight or by 10 a.m. tomorrow or whatever the ridiculous delivery time is for them? You could just ask AI, what sweaters are available for me to purchase that will arrive tonight? And it will actually pop up. Well, if it works correctly, it's supposed to pop those up. What about when you're scanning through something, let's say you're buying shoes and you're like, okay, I want shoes, but I need to make sure my size is available, because sometimes you click on it and your size isn't available. You could just ask Rufus and it will just automatically send you those links. I think that is helpful. I also like that you can search for Canadian companies. So before you get mad about Amazon being used, some of these, of course, are Canadian companies that are selling on Amazon. I think we all know that. Rufus is apparently really, really good for that too. I haven't tested that out too much, but apparently you could say, I want Canadian-made scarf. Show me any Canadian-made ones, Canadian companies. Great. More local, like anything like that. Eco-friendly, products, whatever it is. Apparently it's easier to use now than ever before, and using Rufus is your best way to find the product. Again, I think it's helpful. The others disagreed with me completely, and they thought AI was taking over too many things. But here I am embracing AI. Obviously, I would. Okay, I'm going to get out of here, guys. For now, tomorrow, don't know if there's going to be a pod. Bear with us for the next little while. But if Dave Lazard is feeling healthy and he's able to come in next week, we'll most definitely do a pod for you, okay? So in advance, I'm going to say, unless for some reason he shows up tomorrow or me and Octavia have stuff we have to do, I just want to wish you guys a really, really good weekend, and we will chat again next week. Bye-bye.
Costco is being forced to recall 80,000 pounds of butter because the label fails to mention it contains milk. Well, there's an easy fix right there. Instead of recalling the product, Costco should just repackage it as, I can't believe you didn't know butter's made of milk.
The New York Department of Sanitation has announced that due to the citywide drought warning, MTA trains and buses will be washed at less frequency. Though the question remains, what's less than never?
The age at which French people are having sex for the first time is increasing and has gone from 17.3 to 17.7. Clearly, French teens want to wait. No, Camille. We are moving too fast. I am only 17.3. We are but children.